These are the most unbelievable conspiracy claims ever discussed on Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan breaks down the Ali-Henry Cooper fight, and the long-standing rumor warns that UK digital IDs could enable total control, tying identity to scores, limits, and Rogan and Dennis McKenna discuss simulation theory, the future of humans merging with technology, and how psychedelics can help maintain wisdom and connection with nature.
I honestly think it's coming from his wife.
Those folks are not going to like this.
I think it's coming from his wife.
This is going around today. This is a jacket she wore to
what she's saying?
meeting.
It says, "I really don't care, do you?"
Yeah, and this was to a meeting of the immigration
Yeah.
kids. She's meeting
What?
the kids. Yeah,
What is that? Is that some fashion jacket?
that she wore to that event. Yeah.
What a stupid fucking thing to wear. I really don't care, do you? Yeah, I care. Yeah, I do care. But what are we talking about? What a bizarre, open-ended question. I really don't care about what?
The tone deafness of these people. They have no sensitivity to
she's
how
an
it
open
looks.
critic, though, of separating children from their families. And she actually made a surprise visit to the Mexican border today to check in on it. Yeah, to see what's going on.
Good for her.
Yeah, good. Well, she's an immigrant. I mean, this is the irony of the whole thing. She barely speaks English. The whole thing is so bizarre. Is that his own wife is a fucking immigrant. I mean, clearly. The whole thing's crazy. It's really strange. But that jacket, like, this is the sign of the simulation. Have you considered the simulation theory?
Yes.
Might be real. Might be real. It might be real. I mean,
well, sometimes I do wonder. I mean, it's like reality, whatever we choose to call it, is becoming so weird that I often ask myself, who is writing this shit? And can't they get a better writer? You know, I mean, the plot is so absurd, and yet,
I began actively considering it when Congressman Weiner kept pulling his dick out. I was like, this is just crazy.
Right.
That guy. I'm like, this is just too much. And then when Trump won, I just was sitting down going, imagine if one day someone shuts it off and the lights dim and then they turn back on and you realize, well, the game's over. How did you like it? And you're like, what? That was fake? Yeah. You just went, it only took an hour. How long did it seem? Like 50 years, you know? And you're in a simulation with artificial memories implanted into your mind. Well, the one day that the idea is that there's going to be an artificial reality or a virtual reality that's so good that it's indistinguishable. I mean, this is almost inevitable. If technology increases at the same rate that it's increasing now, whether it's 50 years from now or 100 years from now, we're going to reach some point in time. So the real question is, when we do reach that, how will we know?
well, what if we're already there?
Yes.
But if it is a simulation, how would we know? And how do we test it?
Yeah, how do we test it? Yeah.
You know, but another aspect of this is, do we really want this? You know, do we want to be immersed in a virtual reality, even if we could produce one so sophisticated we couldn't tell it from whatever this is? Let's assume for the moment that this is reality. It's not. Do we want to migrate into a virtual reality?
My real concern, is that we are the last wave of the biological human. I really do believe this.
I'm concerned about that too, and I'm not sure I think that that's a good thing.
I don't necessarily think it's a good thing for the biological human, but I feel like if you separate yourself from the idea of good and bad and the inevitability of innovation and progress, it's if human beings continue to make more and more complex electronics with higher and higher capabilities, it's inevitable that we become symbiotic with these things, that we ingrain them into our... They're going to become a part of your body. We're going to replace body parts with more efficient body parts.
Right.
And we're one day going to create some sort of artificial life. Now, whether we become a part of that artificial life, we merge with it, or it just assumes the role of the leader of the earth, one of those things is likely to happen within the next 500 years. It's just... And that's a really generous time frame.
Yeah, I think that's a generous time frame.
Yeah.
Well, this I mean, in some ways, this is sort of this raises the issue about, one of the things that psychedelics put in front of us, front and center, is the fact that we are getting estranged from nature.
Yeah.
That's the main lesson. We're getting estranged from nature. We have to re-understand our relationship and become a partner that's in the symbiosis with nature. And this projection is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
So is that, so maybe, and this raises also one issue that we haven't really touched on, but technology, which is what this virtual reality stuff is, and what any artifact is. Psychedelics are technology. Molecular biology is technology. Cybernetics is technology. Technology inherently has no moral dimension. These are not good or bad things. The way that they are used by humans, the decisions that humans make in the way that they're going to exploit or deploy these technologies, that's where the moral dimension comes in. Morality comes out of the human heart, and we are, one of our problems, I feel, as a species, we're extremely clever, but we're not wise.
Ooh.
That's what it is. We're not wise about what we do. We're not able to step back and say, well, yeah, we can download the brain into cybernetics, or we can produce an artificial body, or we can do all this genetic stuff. Do we ever stop to think about, just because we can do something, should we do something? And the arrogance of science, this is also a problem. The scientists will say, well, we are scientists, right? We can do it, so let's do it.
Right.
We can do the Hadron experiment, and maybe it'll collapse the space-time continuum, but a very small probability, so let's do it, right?
Yeah.
And there's something we have to learn. I think also that the psychedelics are important in that regard. They are ways that we can bring our cleverness and our wisdom into sync, so that we have the wisdom not to do something, even though we might be able to. We shouldn't do it just because we can do it. We really have to, as a species, ask ourselves, is this a good idea? And I think, again, the psychedelics are teaching tools for learning this and really propagating the message from the community of species.
That's for sure going to be a meme with a photo of your face that we are very clever, but we're not wise. That's for sure going to be a meme. Some dude is or gal is working on that right now.
Well, I've been talking about this for years,
but that
so it's
sentence
about time.
is so striking.
Yeah.
My real concern with this stuff is that this is inevitable. And this is just like the single-celled organism became the multi-celled organism, and that the thinking, curious monkey who strives for material possessions is designed to create artificial life. And this is just what we're set here. I've described it as that we are the technological butterfly that will emerge from the cocoon. And right now we're creating this cocoon, that we are this caterpillar, this technological caterpillar, and we don't know why we're making this cocoon, and that we are going to give birth to this artificial life, this next stage of
and that may
complexity.
Be true. That may be true too. I mean, what you say is true. On some level, anything that can be done is going to be done. Somebody's going to do it.
Right.
But so,
is it good?
Is it good? Is it good for the collective? I mean, there are always megalomaniacs who will say, "Well, I can do it. I can start a nuclear war. So why don't we do this?" And that's the tricky part. Again, I think psychedelics are important in giving us a moral compass. I mean, wisdom, not a set of rules that come out of the religious perception, a set of rules that come out of the biological perception. What is most compatible? What is most nourishing for living things? Presumably, we don't want to trash this planet. We now have the ability to do that. The forces that we can manipulate for the first time in history pose a real possibility that we could end life on Earth. I think it's hard, but I think we may be able to do it, and I, for one, don't want to see that happen.
I had a bit a few years back in my comedy act about the origins of the universe, and that what happens is people get so smart that they develop a Big Bang machine, and that someone's sitting around and some guy who's on the autism spectrum was filled up with SSRIs and antidepressants and drinking Red Bull all day. And he just goes, fuck it, I'll press it. And he hits the button and boom, we start from scratch. And then every, 14 plus billion years, someone develops the Big Bang machine and hits it, and that's the restart of the universe over
You're
and over
really
again.
obsessed with this idea the universe is a simulation, aren't
I
you?
am.
Yeah.
I am in some ways.
It's possible. I mean, it's possible.
It is, well, it's inevitable that there will be simulated worlds.
Right.
I'm not necessarily completely obsessed with the idea that we're living in a simulation, but I am completely obsessed that we are a relic and that we are on our way out. I really am. I really do think that maybe that's one of the reasons why we're so crazy and so haywire. It just shows there's no logical progression for our culture, that it's as advanced as we are, as much access to information as we have. We're also as crazy as we have ever been, if not crazier.
Yeah. So the age of the curious monkey is coming to a close.
I wonder how much of a limitation our biology is, too. I mean, you think about what it took to get to here and all the battles we had to fight and the animals we had to run from and all these human reward systems that are ingrained into our DNA, and that now here we are in a place where we hardly need them, and yet we still have them just blowing up and exploding and vomiting all over the place in these weird ways, and we have them sort of manifesting themselves in very strange behaviors that aren't good for anybody, and this constant need to acquire material possessions and conquer and obtain things. That this is not tenable. This is not something that makes sense in the long haul, but yet we still go down this illogical road, and that this is really just because this is the best way to fuel innovation. Our extreme desire for material possessions is the best way to ensure that they're going to keep coming up with newer, better things every year, which will eventually give birth to the electronic butterfly.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. Yeah. I mean, that may be where we're headed, and it may be that this is a necessary step. I mean, if our destiny is to actually leave the Earth at some point, if the Earth is an incubator for life, and we're just destined to leave it and spread out into the galaxy and beyond, who knows? I mean, then maybe this is inevitable that we have to do that, if that's what's happening. But the question is, what kind of being will we be when we do that? We won't be human.
Right.
We'll be something different than human.
That's what I've always wondered about the alien archetype. That big-headed thing with the no genitals and no mouth, that may be what we think of as being the ultimate form that the human animal takes.
Right.
That if we do symbiotically merge with technology and electronics, that might be the form that we take. It's just so strange that one accepted form. And I've heard the idea that this image is something when young eyes from a newborn baby sees a doctor and sees the doctor with the mask and the face, and this is what they see, and that this is imprinted in our mind, this traumatic experience of the birth and the bright lights and the operating table. This is why so many of these alien abduction experiences do take place in these very clinical, sterile environments, and it seems like a medical procedure, as if this is a remnant of the birth process. I've heard that experience. I've heard that explanation, but it also it strikes me that these things are there. If you go from ancient hominids, you go from Australopithecus, and then you go to modern computer programmer who doesn't exercise, and you look at their body, this sort of like doughy, thin body that doesn't move very well.
Right.
And then you go back to this muscular ape-like creature that's covered in hair. They've lost all the hair, they've lost all the muscle, they've become thin, and then Where's that going? Well, it's obviously going in that same direction. It's not going to, people are not going to get more muscular and harder and hairier as time goes on unless something radical changes and we need to adapt. Right. So that would be the normal, I mean, the path that would be the natural progression, that we would eventually have bigger heads, because we have bigger heads than Australopithecus and certainly bigger heads than chimps or bonobos, and that it just keeps going in that same direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, possibly.
Yeah.
Or maybe we just leave the biological shell behind, but then
Where's
we're
our
really
emotions?
not human. I mean,
What do
we
we
are
have?
transhuman, and
Yeah.
and we, I'm not sure I want to go there.
I don't think I want to go there, but what I'm thinking is, like, what is it that's making me cling to these ideas? Is it that I love emotions? I love illogical behavior? Do I love art? Yeah, I love all those things. I love music and food and all the things cooking and all the things that make a person, camaraderie. But what are those things? Aren't those chemical reactions we have with other beings and natural reward systems that are built in to sort of enhance community and camaraderie so that we stay together so that the species survives? And, like, what if there's something that supplants that? What if there's something that far surpasses that in terms of pleasure and connectivity? And we realize that emotions are just these ancient systems that were put into place when there wasn't a better option. But these better options, it's much better to get your food from a supermarket than it is to chase down a gazelle for 2 days until it dies of heat stroke. I mean, these systems improve over time. This animal that we are now is very different than the animal we used to be. Why do we want to stay in this imperfect state? That seems even more ridiculous. That we'd like to stay humans forever. But humans are so flawed. I mean, there's a reason why we have all this nonsense in the world, and our society is sick, and we are twisted and confused. But a part of it, at least, has to be that the human animal itself is very flawed, because there's no perfect culture. You can't just chalk it up to culture. Because if you did chalk it up to culture, you would say, well, this culture sucks. But if you go to this culture, it's amazing. There's no crime. Everyone loves everyone. It's completely open. There's no need to worry about money because everybody's generous and everything gets, and they're really brilliant and they get along and they create new architecture and everything's fantastic. It's the perfect society. That doesn't exist.
But isn't that the culture that we can create with the help of psychedelics?
Now we're
Isn't
talking.
that what we're shooting for?
Now we're talking.
A truly humanistic culture where love is what's happening, where it's driven by love and not by hatred and rivalry and scarcity and fear. And that's the whole thing. The psychedelics can be the catalyst that teaches us how to love ourselves, how to love each other, how to love the earth. I mean, I know that sounds cliche and trivial, but that is in fact what the promise that they hold for us. That's why they're teachers. They're teaching, learning tools. They can teach us to be the human beings that we would like to be. And that's the thing. That's the alternative to this hyper technological future. And I mean, I'm all for technology. I'm not against technology, but again, I think we have to we have to bring wisdom to it. We have to make a situation where it is not controlling us. We are controlling it. And we're thinking clearly about, we have, this enormous panoply of technologies that can do so many things. We have to think about, how do we deploy those in such a way to maximize human potential, or, our humanity. So that's really, I think, what the promise that psychedelics hold out. And that's what we're hoping to create, as a kernel. And we're not the only ones, obviously. A lot of people have this idea, and it's happening. But that's the idea, is to create a place where people can learn this. And, that's my hope for the future of humanity.
Well, it's great hope for the future of the people that are alive today, and I think that's the most important. We don't know what's coming, but we do know it's here.
Right.
And I think that's a great hope for what's here.
Joe Rogan discusses claims Obama and U.S. intel pushed Russiagate without solid evidence. Joe Rogan explores Mars and moon structures, the face on Mars, and hints at a lost. Joe Rogan explores the Younger Dryas impact theory, burned mammoth bones, and evidence of extinct animals, hinting at a global cataclysm.
So the Randall, Carlson, Graham, Hancock theory, which is not really their theory, it's an actual scientific theory called the Younger Dryas impact theory that says that there's a certain period of time somewhere around between 12,800 years ago, and then Graham thinks it's probably happened multiple times since then, maybe not as big or maybe but similar impacts, where we pass through this comet cloud. And the United States, which was covered in half a mile of ice, or as much as a mile high of ice, half the country, all that was wiped out almost instantaneously, and that these things hit all over the world, probably reset civilization, and probably caused the mass extinction of. In North America, it was like 65% of the megafauna died very quickly.
Geologically speaking, real quick.
Yeah.
But to add a little interest to our site, we do have excavators. We do dig around. We'd have mining gravel operations and stuff like that. But in the boneyard, we use the excavators primarily to keep the drains open. And we were digging one day and we found burnt bedrock. And you've probably seen a picture of that.
Yeah.
But the bedrock is actually burned. I mean, you can tell it's burned. Rub it, it's got charcoal. I mean, it's like, and the gravels right above it are burned. Now, to go along with that theory, we had sea levels that rose 300 to 400 feet in a relatively short period of time. And Beringia, which was that land bridge that came across, suddenly it was no longer a land bridge, it was underwater. Worldwide, sea levels rose 300 to 400 feet around the globe.
Yeah, quickly.
Real quick. And might have been quicker than the megafauna could adopt to. Megafauna had to have the right ecosystem to live in, and it changed too quick, and they couldn't adopt. That's my theory. Adapt, yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably part of it too, right? Because some of the things probably survived. They think a lot of things died on the impacts or during the floods and if you found charcoal, I mean, they found this stuff that they call nuclear glass. It's called trinitite, I believe is the way they pronounce it. But it's the same sort of material they found during the Trinity explosion, which is like from the immense impact of the explosion, it turns sand and particles into glass. And they find that all around the world at that same, when they do core samples at that same time period. And so if there's impacts like that, there's most likely fires. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably what you're looking at.
It could
be.
Yeah.
Or it could be some other sort of mass fire that hit that area.
But it's under 60 feet of silt, 10 to 15 feet of gravel. And where this is located is the widest pay streak in the interior. It's about a mile wide, this pay streak, where the gold is. The mountains used to be, a few thousand feet taller than they are right now, where the pay was coming out of the host rock. And gold's got a specific gravity of 19, meaning it'll displace itself 19 times in water. So that's how sluice boxes work. Gold pans. You mix the dirt with the water, the gold goes right to the bottom. Same way with the pay streak. The gold's moving down the creek, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. The gravel goes over the top of it. Pretty soon it hits bedrock. You can't go any deeper, and that's where it stays. And the gravel just keeps moving down. So there was a lot of water that went through this valley. This creek there now is not 15 feet wide, but the valley itself with the pay gravels is a mile wide.
Wow.
And there's gold throughout the whole thing.
So at one point in time, there could have been a river that's a mile wide that was running through there.
Could have been. I don't know.
And these animals that they said that aren't supposed to be there, what animals are those?
Dire wolves being one of them.
Dire wolves? You found dire wolves?
Dire wolves.
Do you have photos of this stuff? Is it all up on your Instagram?
Yeah. Well,
Jamie's looking.
Yeah, there might be some on that on my page.
So when you found dire wolves, like in what condition? Just the bones?
Yeah.
Because you found some tissue too, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these animals died, and you found little pieces of soft tissue and tendons and ligaments, which those paleontologists were thrilled by. Like they couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. They had bones with marrow still in them.
Wow.
And the carnivores had pretty strong jaws. They liked the marrow. That might explain why so many bones are broken where they're broken.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they chewed into these animals. And one of the other extinct, not just dead, but extinct animals we found up there is, we've never found elk before. Well, we found some elk, but the experts say they didn't exist up there. And I know you'd like to hunt elk and eat elk, but
elk exist in Alaska.
they exist down. I think they do.
They do. They do. So that's a dire wolf skull.
Yeah.
Wow. They have Roosevelt elk in Alaska. They have them on some of the islands on the coast. A Fognak has Roosevelt elk on it because it's a very difficult hunt that people go on, and the problem is there's enormous brown bears on there. And my friend Steve Randall told a story on the podcast of how they shot an elk up there, and it's an incredibly difficult hike in and hike out. You're going through very thick brush and terrain at a very steep angle. It's very hard to get through with anything. So they take this elk, they hang it in a tree, and they come back the next day to cut it up and to take it apart. But by the time they get back, a bear has already claimed it, and they don't know this yet.
Uh-oh.
And they get rushed by this bear. He said it ran straight through their camp, but it found so many people didn't know exactly what to do, and it ran through. One of their guys winds up on top of the bear's back somehow. So it literally plows through the camp, and he's riding this bear's back for like 15, 20 yards. And then falls off the bear's back, and the bear runs into the woods, and the bear's huffing at them. And then they get out their rifles. Like they were eating lunch. They had no idea. So there are elk up there.
Yeah, but they're not in the interior. And we're...
Which is crazy because they're on the island. Like how are they on a Fognak if they're not in the interior? How'd they get on that island?
How'd the little mini mammoths get down to one of the islands on the southeast? They say these miniature mammoths lived there till 4,000 years ago.
That's interesting. That's island dwarfism, right? That happens with elephants too. When elephants live on an island, they get smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan and Neil Blomkamp explore a scientific, evolution-based vampire species built to control humans.
The idea is he applied evolutionary biology to how you could viably justify a vampire. And the result is astonishing.
What is this book called?
It's called Blindsight, that book. But the book isn't about that. It's this one character that I zeroed in on, which now he and I are working on, which is this idea where basically he thinks that if you look at something like lions in the wild, right?
Right.
Lions they're outnumbered by their prey, like, whether it's 10 to 1 or 100 to 1. There's far fewer lions than there are gazelles, right? So the lions also have a disproportionate amount of sort of intelligence and logic compared to a gazelle because they're the predator that hunts this predated animal. So he took that philosophy and created a branch off of sort of hominid upper primates that would be 10 times more intelligent than a human, that would keep the human numbers in check. Right, and it's crazy, and it only needs a certain enzyme that humans have in their blood. So it's not like the classic thing of vampires drinking tons of blood. It's just going after one enzyme. So it could actually just drink a little bit of blood and get what it needs that's only created by human beings, and then the rest of its diet could be like a normal diet, right? But the thing that he wrote that is the most incredible part of it is he's got this thing called the crucifix glitch, which is it's so intelligent, and it can hold, like the way that you're conscious or I'm conscious now, it can hold 2 or 3 or 4 versions of consciousnesses like that in its head at any given moment. So it can look at topics from multiple real points of view. And what it does is it basically goes into hibernation like a vampire. It lets the human population build up. And then when it comes out of hibernation, over a few generations, its existence may have been turned into myth or something. And then it hunts the population down again, right? So this is the thing he came up with. Because its brain structure is so different and because it's such an excellent predator, and it's completely sociopathic, because as you would need to be if you're chewing on something, right? It's just a total, it's basically like a serial killer on steroids that like we've never seen. It's like mixing a serial killer with a particle physicist like Einstein. But he came up with this thing where its visual cortex is different to a human, and it calculates like horizontal and vertical simultaneously to look. It's like a pattern recognition system for hunting. And up until only a few thousand years ago, there were no right angles in nature. Nature was nature. But humans started building, Euclidean geometry buildings, the Greek Parthenons and stuff. And that caused an overlap in its visual cortex that looks like a right angle. And it sent the vampires into grand mal epileptic seizures. So we misinterpreted that as holding up crosses, right?
So it just can't go to cities.
Well, it can't go anywhere that humans move to. And so they died off, right?
Wow.
It's crazy. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah, he's really talented. So the idea is basically that some pharmaceutical company would will them back out of like Neanderthal DNA.
Yeah.
They're doing gene therapy to basically bring this out of humans again. But it's similar to AI, where once it crosses a certain threshold, it's way smarter than the people that are willing it out through gene therapy, and all of a sudden you have a real problem on your hands, right? Where, I mean, it's sort of like describing it like a bunch of cows went and genetically willed a wolf into being, right? The wolf doesn't want to be caged in by the cows.
Right.
And it's also a fascinating concept that we're a pest species that's grown like a mold around the planet because our natural predator has been absent for a few 100,000 years.
Brian Cox explains that our universe might just be one bubble in a vast multiverse where endless big bangs create countless other universes.
When you get to those numbers, when you're talking about trillions and billions and all those zeros, my brain just goes numb. There's this lack of comprehension that I'm well aware of. Like those numbers get thrown about, I go, oh, 200 billion.
No,
And it just...
I think everybody does. I think every scientist no scientist can picture that number. I mean, even the small number, 200 billion, which is the number of stars in one galaxy. And then when you say 2 trillion galaxies, that's, I challenge anyone to be able to picture that. But it is the reality that we've observed. We haven't counted all 2 trillion, by the way. We have a thing called the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, which maps the positions of galaxies. So you know how much of the sky you've surveyed, and you know how many galaxies you've counted, and then you can spread that across the wider universe, and you get this picture of a vast and possibly infinite universe. I mean, we know that the universe, or very strongly suspect that the universe is much bigger than the piece we can see. So we have good reason to think that's the case. Whether it's infinite or not is another question. And then that goes to your, can you picture infinity? Well, no one can picture infinity. There's a weird thing as well about, we say the universe began 13.8 billion years ago. So that's a measurement, because we can measure the speed that all the galaxies are flying away from us, essentially. And then you can run time backwards, if you like, to find out when they were all on top of each other. And so it's quite a simple measurement, and we've done that. So we say the universe began 13.8 billion years ago. But actually, all we know really was the universe was very hot and very dense at that time. And we have some theories that the universe was in existence before that, and perhaps some sort of circumstantial evidence. And that means that actually the universe could have always been there, eternal. And when I talk to people sometimes, some people get upset about that. Some people would rather it had a beginning. And the idea that it might have been around forever is more frightening somehow than the fact that it began. And it's interesting the way that people's minds work. What terrifies you the most, an eternal universe or a finite universe?
Yeah, they're both incomprehensible. The eternal universe, if there was an eternal universe, does that negate the theory of the Big Bang, or does it mean that there's a constant cycle of Big Bangs and then expansion and then recompression? Or
Yeah, it could do. So those theories are back in vogue. Some of those theories are back in vogue again. So yes, some of them say that there's a cycling universe. So the Big Bang is an event when space gets very hot and very dense and filled with particles. And that may happen again. Or some of the other theories, there's a theory called eternal inflation, which is a theory that, and it's actually the most popular theory, I think, at the moment for what happened, but why the Big Bang is the way that it is. Because it's got some very special features, the Big Bang, which we could talk about. But inflation is the idea that space-time was around before the Big Bang, and it was expanding extremely fast. And there was doubling in size in the most popular of these theories every 10 to the minus 37 seconds, which is 0.00000 with 37 noughts, 1 of a second. So it's an unimaginably fast expansion. And then the idea is that draws to a close, so it quite naturally sort of dies away and the expansion slows down. And all the energy that was taken, that was causing that expansion, sort of gets dumped into space and heats it up and makes particles, and that's what we call the Big Bang. And those theories, the slight extension to those, say that slowing down just happens in little patches. So most of the universe, the overwhelming majority of the universe, is still inflating at that insane sort of speed. And just little patches stop, and they're Big Bangs. So you get multiple universes, a multiverse. It's called the inflationary multiverse. And we are in one of those bubbles. And that's one of the more popular theories.
Joe Rogan and Whitney talk about hidden sexual imagery in old Disney films, modern Disney issues, and how social media like Twitter distorts behavior.
Sends me all this stuff. But yeah, the Disney castles being made of dicks, it is a compelling case, but I think it was probably more that they didn't pay their animators, and the animators were like, fuck you guys, we're just going to make
I'm not totally aware of that one. I think, I don't remember it. Let's pull
Disney
that one up.
castles made of dicks. Let's go. I'm about to get
Well, there's a lot of wild stuff from the old Disney stuff. You go back in the old Disney, you're like, you guys should probably bury this.
Brutal, I know. You might want to take the obviously Jewish person's nose down a little bit.
Yeah,
This one.
there was one where there was it was like a big bad wolf one, and it used to be a Jewish person, and then they switched it to a wolf later. Mm-hmm. Like, what?
And it's like cheap. It like won't pay the price for the baguette for the Little Red Riding Hood. You're like, what? Yeah, but like there's I think it's the Little Mermaid, the spears looking like dicks, I think they probably just didn't pay their animators, and the animators were like, all right, we're just going to make everything look like a dick. But
some people do see dicks in everything, though.
There's that. It is kind of a Rorschach test.
That's a thing, yeah.
Maybe I'm one of those people. Then there's also Mickey and Minnie, like one of her bows, it does kind of look like a dick going right for her mouth. I mean, it feels like a disgruntled employee. What?
The video you posted got taken down. I was just going to play that one.
Oh, I posted?
It's
yeah.
been removed.
Which one was that one?
Everything
on this topic.
On the dicks?
She has a video that I was just going to use that as the example, but it's been taken down.
They take all my stuff down now.
Here's some interesting stuff I just found, though.
Marshmallow cannon?
Well,
what?
But
hold on. I mean, okay. It should show. Like,
no.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, what? Okay. That's 100% a dick squirting marshmallows
On a little mouse.
And then
it just jizzed all over this mouse.
It's that. It's like.
Okay. That's a dick. That's 100% a dick.
It's like
look at the balls at the bottom of it.
Oh my God,
like that's not a coincidence.
I didn't even notice the balls.
That is not a coincidence. That's 100% a dick.
Look up the Minnie and Mickey Mouse. That one is the one that really kind of put me over the edge.
Yeah, that's someone being sneaky and putting in like a little Easter egg.
Yeah, they didn't get paid overtime.
That's a dick.
Yeah, and now the Disney employees the animators are trying to unionize. I'd be shocked if they succeed. They're probably just going to have AI do it. You could also just go to images.
The thing is, AI is so good now. Like, these animators are on shaky ground.
Yes, that's correct.
What happened with the actor strike? Did they settle that? Is that over?
Yeah, they settled it. Do Minnie and Mickey dicks.
Minnie and Mickey dicks.
Dicks. Oh, it's right there. Go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 over on the top. Yeah, one more over. Sorry, that one. Yeah. I mean,
Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ.
that's her dress.
What the fuck?
I know.
Okay.
It's a little wild.
Come on.
I mean,
That's
maybe.
insane. And he's got his hand on
I
her
know.
dick. She's got a giant heart on. That is 100% a heart on. That doesn't even make sense
Just
as a
going
dress.
straight into his mouth.
Just try to imagine that as a dress. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, like where's her arm? Oh, it's around his neck.
Who cares where her? It doesn't make sense.
I know it. It's
Where's
a
her
hard
right
one.
arm?
It's a hard one to
Oh, they're
defend.
both around there.
Yeah.
She's hugging him.
And that's her shoulder, supposedly. Okay,
Like a
kind
poofy
of.
dress.
There's her knee.
Kind
It's
of.
tough. It's a tough one.
That's a dick. It's way more of a dick than it is her arm around his shoulder.
Uh-huh.
You know, if it's one of two things, that looks so much like it. And his hands on it, like he's
know.
stroking it.
And also the little lines.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Does she always have a puffy shoulder shirt on like that? Is that consistent? Or-
Not like that. And then it's also like the little ridge on the top. Doesn't feel necessary.
It's a dick.
It's
That's definitely a dick.
Just shadow.
oh no.
It's
oh,
a.
no.
That's 100% a dick.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a dart in my neck any minute. Disney's gonna get us.
They're already in trouble. They fucked up. They went too far. You were telling us about the South Park thing?
Oh my god, dude. Jamie, have you seen the new South Park?
I definitely saw clips of it. I
It
didn't watch
is
the whole
so
episode
funny. First of all, Cartman has been replaced by a black trans woman in like the ulterior universe or whatever. And the whole thing, well, it's really incisive commentary. Obviously, they always do such a good job with this.
It's the Panderverse, which is
Panderverse.
hilarious. It's such a great name.
All the handymen are the richest people because no men know how to do anything anymore because they went to college. So it's all about how college has made us stupid, and we need handymen to do everything now because we're using Siri and whatever. So there's the handyman bought Instagram and now is like going to space because he's just a billionaire. And then Cartman is is it Catherine Kennedy who runs Disney? But ran Lucasfilm and whatever, and her whole thing is just make it a girl and make her gay. Make it a girl and make her gay. For every movie they're pitching. And she gets like served food at a restaurant, and she's like, I told you to make it a girl and make it gay. It's hilarious. It's so well done.
Yeah, how did they people that are that goofy get in control of media like that?
I think that like I think we're going to look back at this time and go like, remember when we thought 300 comments on Twitter represented everyone?
Right.
Remember when we had that confirmation, but we got scared of a bunch of tweets, half of which might just be bots or truly crazy people?
Yeah.
You know? I don't know what the statistic is now.
Also, people crazy enough to be commenting on things all day.
Yeah, good or bad.
The people that I know that are on Twitter all day commenting on stuff, they're mentally ill.
That's right.
Like the ones I know are mentally ill. I know they're all fucked up. I know they're medicated to shit.
Yep.
And then they're on there freaking themselves out, arguing with people all day.
I think not only are they medicated on whatever they're on, but also I think Twitter is a drug. I mean, you get that hit of self-righteous indignation. You get it's like the people who write in to complain about their Mr. Goodbar being wrapped weird. You know what I mean?
And for actors and people in show business, it's almost like you're testing yourself out, like writing scripts for yourself.
Yeah.
To be like a hero in this scene.
And like, I think a lot of people need to be heard. Totally get that. You
Oh
know?
yeah, that's real too. That's real too. I mean, there's a real application for it in terms of your ability to communicate about things and learn more about other people's perspectives if you can cultivate a good group of humans. But if you're famous, that's not tenable. Like there's too many people. If you're dealing with a product like a Disney film, there's just too many people. There's too many people. You're never going to be, and you're just going to encounter what you encounter. It's random. It's not like you're getting the ones from, like, I went to Stanford and asked the psychologists what their opinion on. No. You're just getting getting the wildest of wild opinions from who knows how many different groups of people.
Yeah.
And you just, whatever you scroll into, that's what you read.
Do you think there'll be a day where we look back and we go like, remember when you could just like be on Twitter all day? Like, is it going to be the way we are with cigarettes now? Remember, you used to be able to smoke inside.
No, because people are just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't physically feel bad, even though it is bad. We're really bad at things that don't burn our fingers. Like, ouch. we're really bad at just continuing to do certain things like a Twitter type deal, or just any kind of online social interaction is so different than regular human interaction that if you get used to doing it all the time, it kind of like reprograms the way you communicate with people, period.
It's just like the new normal.
Yeah, you see people like spill over, like Twitter talk spill over in real life with horrible consequences.
It's like my favorite Mike Tyson quote is the problem with people today is you can talk shit and not get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And then you see him talk shit in person, it doesn't go so well. Like,
Yeah. That's real. I mean, you're supposed to have consequences for your behavior.
Like a bunch of my friends that are parents say that like bullies will come in and they'll say the craziest shit just because they've been on Twitter or online or on those video games where you're allowed to like talk shit, and then you go into the real world and it's a little different.
Yeah.
Big Pharma is pushing the FDA to label common drugs as biologics to gain long monopolies, block compounding pharmacies, kill telemedicine, and raise prices.
It just that.